Alright, we're going to talk about volume of composite figures. Volume of composite figures is just taking the volume. What I'm doing is I'm taking the volume of splitting my shapes into different pieces. Right? So I'm going to take a shape and I can split it into a rectangle that I can see, and it cuts the other one into a rectangle as well. So what we're looking at is multiple different objects, two or more combined solid figures that create and compose a composite figure. Okay, so I just split up my shapes, label them in my differences, find each volume separately, and then I'm going to solve for that. Okay, so if I notice, I can cut my shape right here. Let's just draw a line right down. Well, I just made this into a rectangular prism. This is shape A. Okay, and then I also have another rectangular prism, which I can label as shape B. So what I want to do is I want to find the volume of shape A first. Okay, so the volume of shape A, one of the things I need is I need big B. So this is going to be big B times H. Well, big B, right, for in the spot of big B, well, what is the base shape of this rectangle prism? Well, it is just a rectangle. I notice that this is 2 over here, meaning this length is 2. This entire depth of this shape is going to be 2. Okay. The only other measurement that they gave me that I don't have to use mathematically would be that my height of the difference between this right here is not labeled. Okay, so I got 10, I got 2 going back, and then if I notice that this piece is 8 up here, right, that means this distance right here is 8. So if I know the whole thing's 12, what number plus 8 would get me 12? That would be 4. Okay, so when I take a look at my base, all right, I'm going to just talk about my base being any side. So if I did base times height times the height of my shape, right, I'm looking at a base of, let's do 2, and then a height of 10. Right, and then I'm going to multiply by the height of that shape, which is 4. So realistically, I'm doing length times width times height, 3 different measurements. So I'd get 20 if I did 2 times 10, and then 20 times 4 is going to give me a total of 80 inches cubed. So the volume of shape A, I just did a little bit of work to find out it was 80 inches cubed. Right, so this is shape B. However I look at it, I just need to find the volume of that shape. Right, so I'm going to do the same thing. Base times height, and within that base times height, I can put that into my big base. Alright, and then this is the height of my prism. So when we're talking about doing area of my base, right, what is my base shape? So it doesn't matter where I really look at it, right? I can say that this is one of my bases, so I'm going to do 8 times the length of 2 right there. So 8 times 2. And then what is the other measurement? It is 3, so it has a height of 3. So I did 8 times 2 to get me 16, times 3 to get a total of 48 inches cubed. And this was all to find the area, or sorry, volume of shape B. So now I just take my 2 areas, add them together, right? So I'm going to do 80 plus 48 to get me 128. So this is going to be a total of 128 inches cubed. So to sum that all up, all I did was I broke off my shape into 2 different shapes, found the volume of one, and then found the volume of the other one. Alright, so we're going to do that same thing here. So if I take a look at my shape, right, my shape A on top is a triangle prism. So I'm going to say shape A on top is a triangular prism. And the shape on the bottom is just a simple rectangular prism. Okay, so I can label this as shape A, this is shape B. So if I want to find the volume of shape A, right, that is going to be big B times H. Well, big B in this question is a triangle, right? So I'm going to, in the spot of my big B, I'm going to do base times height divided by 2. I still have to multiply by the height of the prism, but I can plug in all the pieces to my formula in the spots what they own. Alright, so 23 is the base of this triangle right here, just the face of my base. Okay, so it's 23 times a height of 21, and then I divide by 2, and then I multiply that height by the height of the prism. So to get to the other triangle in the back, it is going to be 16. So 23 times 21 divided by 2 divided by 16, I'm going to get a total volume of 3,864 inches cubed. Okay, so that was the volume of my shape that is on top. Now I need to find the volume of shape B that is on the bottom, and it was a rectangular prism. So again, I'm going to have big B times height. All right, so we can make any shape that I want to be my base, or we can get in the habit of just saying this is length times width times height, my 3 dimensions. All right, so if I wanted to do that, I have 18, 23, and 16. So I'm just going to multiply all 3 of those numbers, and that's going to give me a total volume of 6,624 inches cubed. All right, so I just did 2 different ways to find 2 different volumes. Now all I do is I take those 2 volumes and I add them together. So I'm going to do 3,864 plus the 6,624 to give me a total volume of 10,488 inches cubed. All right, 2 more shapes to do here, and then we're done. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I always want to look at my shapes and say, how can I break these 2 shapes into different pieces that I could easily solve them for? So the shape on top is a cone, right? And then the shape on the bottom is half of a sphere, so we call that a hemisphere. All right, so if I want to find the volume of shape A, which is the cone that's on top, right, we are going to do pi times r squared times height divided by 2. So I can take all of this, divided by 3, not 2. Take all of these numbers, and I'm just going to straight up plug it in. And let's try to leave this in terms of pi, because you can see how easily we can add these 2 pi values together. All right, sorry, camera's not working as well as I want it to right there. There we go. All right, so pi is just pi. My radius of my shape is 6, right? And then my height, I don't have it, right? I'm going to show you guys a trick. If we have what's called a perfect Pythagorean triple, right? 5 is my biggest number, therefore it is always going to be the side of the hypotenuse. Well, if I want to solve for this height right here, that's my hypotenuse, take a look at the number that's across from this. Well, what would I need to multiply 5 by to get me to 10? I need to multiply it by 2, right? So what other number do I have on one of my legs? That could be 3 or 4, right? What number needs to be also multiplied by 2 to get me 6? Well, that's my 3. All right, 3 times 2 gets me the 6, meaning my other leg has to be a product of the one missing number, which is 4. So 4, multiply that by 2, I'm going to get a height of 8 if I just memorize my perfect Pythagorean triples. So do a little Pythagorean work to find out that I have a height of 8. So I can take that, plug it in, and put all these numbers and plug it in my calculator. Okay, so to leave this in terms of pi, I'm just going to do 6 squared times 8 divided by 3, and that's going to give me 144. Since I didn't calculate the pi in, I need to attach that pi symbol. Okay, so now since I found volume of shape A, I'm going to find volume of shape B. In a hemisphere, the volume for a hemisphere is going to be 2/3 pi times r cubed. Okay, so since I have radius of 6, this is going to be 2/3 times pi times 6 raised to the power of 3. All right, if we don't memorize what we did in hemispheres, remember r raised to the power of 3 is the same as me doing r times r times r, or I can raise that power with the little roof symbol on my calculator. All right, so when we take a look at that, if I do 2 divided by 3 and I multiply by 6 raised to the power of 3 and just do only the numbers and not the pi, this is going to get us 144 pi. And this one, I messed up. I was looking at the wrong number on my sheet. I apologize for that. It is 96 pi. Okay, I got my numbers mixed up there. I apologize. All right, so since I found volume of shape A to be 96 pi, volume of shape B is going to be 144 pi. If I want to find the total volume, all I'm going to do is do volume of shape A plus volume of shape B, add them together. So I'm going to do 96 pi plus 144 pi. And it's the same thing if I were to say like 2x plus 3x equals 5x. Since both of these have a pi, it's like an x value. So I'm just going to add my 96 and my 144 in front and get the number 240. And then I can leave this in terms of pi, and then I can put my units of measurement, which is inches cubed. All right, one more. When we take a look at this last one, it says find the volume of the shaded region. So if I notice that shape A, I can make a bigger shape, is a rectangular prism. All right, and then the bottom, or not the bottom piece, but the shape inside of that is a cylinder. We can discuss what's happening here. I notice that the cylinder is being taken out of my shape this time. So instead of me adding my two products together, I need to find the shape volume of my rectangular prism, and then I'm going to subtract the cylinder this time. Okay, so let's just write that down. Volume of shape A needs to have volume of shape B, and I'm going to subtract it this time instead of adding those two. So if I want to find the volume of shape A, right, I know it's a rectangle, which is big B times H. Big B is the area of whatever my base shape is, so since it's a rectangle, it's just going to be a simple base times height. Okay, and then I'm going to also multiply in the prism's height. So if I look at this shape, I got three numbers. I got 20, 16, and 16, so I can just do length times width times height and get 20 times 16 times 16 to get me a total volume of shape A to be 5,120. Right, I also want to find the volume of shape B, which we said is a cylinder, and the volume for a cylinder is going to be pi times r squared times height. All right, so in this one, I'm just going to do pi times r, which we can see in my shape is 5. And then the entire distance of this cylinder is 20. So here I want to calculate this into a decimal, so then I can easily subtract that from my other one. All right, so 500 pi is going to get us hold on one second here, 1,570.8. So now I'm going to do 5,120. I'm going to subtract my 1,570.8. And I'm going to get 3,429 points. Oh, sorry, I messed up my numbers there. I inputted that into my calculator wrong. I apologize. 5,120 minus 1,570.8. Right? I'm going to get 3,549.2 inches cubed as my final answer there.